So, Erin, I know that with this house, one of my goals was to minimize the ceiling acne, the wall acne, the floor acne, like really streamline everything so that you're really able to appreciate just the architectural things that we did, the things that are more obvious than we wanted your eyes to focus on. And one of those was really fine-tuning the HVAC system to not only be super functional, but also something you didn't really see. So share a little bit about how we did that in this room and in other spaces in the house.
Yes. So we had meetings very early on with your team and our team and the HVAC folks that are designing the system. And air comes through the slot diffuser and distributes that air in the room.
So it's a long linear thing, as opposed to what most air vents look like, which are typically some kind of 10 by 8 rectangular block with louvers on the front. A lot of times, and certain levels of construction, they're metal. You could do nicer versions of it where it's wood and other things that are more attractive or can be made out of plaster even. But in here, we did it as a linear slot diffuser.
Yes, yes. And it can be a return and it can be a supply. So it can act in both directions. The important things to talk about right now would be, we had a conversation and the framing was actually adjusted in this home because after you found out the size of linear slot diffusers, it could be a 2-foot section, it could be a 4-foot section, it could be an 8-foot section. But once we had that meeting on, okay, what are the sizes? What do we need in each room to make sure that everybody's comfortable? We huddled up and you and your team very specifically let us know where you would like these slot diffusers to be placed. Many times we want the slot diffuser in line with a recess can, or it needs to be 6 inches from a piece of trim on the ceiling. So there are all these details that we work through up front so that when we're setting these slot diffusers, we want to do it one time, okay? Right. Now, I'm not saying we don't ever have to go back, but we want to try to do this one time. So that's part one, is really working through the infrastructure of the home. The second thing is slot diffusers oftentimes come with a trim that then really takes away from the beauty of the slot diffuser, meaning it really should just look like a 1-inch black line in the ceiling. But when we add trim, and a lot of manufacturers have trim pieces that are installed, then you lose the look. Now you're at 4 inches and you have this metal trim and we're back to, just put a regular grill in. But in this case, we actually had several mock-ups on how to transition from sheetrock to metal, because metal can get cold and it can move. And when you have sheetrock and metal together, you might get some splitting. So what
you could also get sweating.
You could get sweating also. Yeah, so there wants to be this movement. So what we've done is we've worked with our sheetrock folks to really figure out how do we integrate the two different surfaces.
Brilliant.
So that it can perform over time. And so there's a whole process there with fiberglass mesh and glue and adhesive and layering of sheetrock to where we're not too thick. And then, of course, a level 5 finish around it so that it looks nice and smooth. So again, it looks really simple. And that's the intent in the ceiling. It wants to look calm and simple, like you said.
But you have no idea what's involved.
Right. There is a cost
associated with that.
Associated with this. We talked about float-in recess cans very early on.
Yeah.
Is this something we want to do?
Yeah, recess can lights. Yeah, we trimless recess can lights. We needed to know that the slot diffusers and the recess can lights were going to be trimless. So no flange was going to be applied to the exterior to kind of cover up that gap. Like it needed to be kind of perfect to begin with.
Yes, it needed to be perfect. We had string lines and lasers and multiple adjustments along the way, because when you get people working and sheetrock goes up, well, they're going to hit a light and it's going to move. And so we need string lines even after the sheetrock's up. So you can tell that, again, this is not a linear process. A lot of people think building's very linear. It's not. It's sideways, it's back and forth, and it's moving together.
Well, and by the way, that a lot of people think design is a linear process. It's same in our industry. You have to ping pong back between steps, and sometimes you have to go back to the beginning, and sometimes you have to kind of make decisions that you think would be done at the end of the process. You have to make them sooner. It is not as simple as A to B to C to D and so on and so forth. You do a lot of back and forth.